Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, let's jump right in, because today we're tackling a crossroads that hits incredibly close to home for a lot of us. If you're a homeowner over 50, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The kids have moved out, the house feels a lot bigger, the maintenance is piling up, and you're faced with that really tough decision about what comes next. Honestly, it can feel like you're standing at an intersection with absolutely no good direction to turn. But today, we're going to explore a really fascinating alternative that might just completely change how you think about your next chapter. You know, for years, the whole narrative around downsizing has felt kind of like a trap, hasn't it? Most people just assume they only have two extreme choices. Option one, you stay put in a large, empty house that's getting harder and harder to manage, and you risk becoming increasingly isolated. Or option two, you pack up your life and move into a traditional senior facility that, let's be honest, might feel just a little too institutional. It feels like you have to choose between keeping your independence or getting the support you need, and that downsizing automatically means giving up your sense of community. But what if those just aren't the only options? Enter the third path. It's called cohousing. So what is this? Well, it's a planned community where residents own or rent their own private homes, but everything is arranged around these shared common spaces. And look, this isn't just about sharing a driveway with your neighbor. It's an entirely different model that emphasizes intentional connection. You are quite literally getting the absolute best of both worlds here. You still have the complete independence of your own private locking front door, your own kitchen, and your own bathroom. But you also have this real, vibrant, built-in community just steps away from your porch.
Let's break down how this actually works on a day-to-day basis. A typical senior co-housing community restricts residency to adults over a certain age, which is usually 55. So right off the bat, you're living alongside neighbors who share similar life stages, interests, and daily rhythms. These neighborhoods usually have about 15 to 35 households, so it's intimate enough that you genuinely know everyone's name. But here is the really unique part. These communities are entirely self-managed. There's no corporate outside management company running the show or handing down rules. The residents themselves manage the neighborhood together.
And listen, this is definitely not some passing trend. The co-housing concept actually started over in Denmark back in the 1960s, and it eventually made its way across the ocean, really taking root in the US during the 1990s. But look at where we are now in the 2020s. We're in a rapid growth phase. Why? Well, it all comes down to a pretty simple demographic reality. By the year 2050, projections show there are going to be 82 million adults over 65 in the US alone. Right now, we've got roughly 170 active co-housing communities nationally, with another 140 in development. A lot of older adults are actively searching for something that bridges that huge gap between total isolation and a clinical institutional setting. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Wait a minute, isn't this basically just a 55-plus community? It's a great question, but the differences are actually massive. Let's compare them. A standard 55-plus community is, at its core, just an age-restricted neighborhood. Sure, it might have some fantastic amenities, like a giant swimming pool or a luxury clubhouse, but it typically has absolutely no built-in social structure. Beyond an occasional scheduled event on a calendar, you are largely on your own to make friends once you move in. Co-housing, on the other hand, is built from the ground up for intentional community. Connection isn't just left to chance, it's literally woven into the physical design of the neighborhood. We also really need to draw a line between co-housing and what's known as a continuing care retirement community, or a CCRC. Notice the stark difference in entry costs here. A CCRC usually requires this massive entrance fee. We're talking well over $100,000 in a lot of cases, plus ongoing monthly charges. Because their primary purpose is providing a long-term medical safety net, offering a full continuum of care from independent living all the way through skilled nursing. Co-housing sits completely apart from this. In co-housing, you own your home outright, just like any standard real estate transaction. There is no medical care provided on site. What you're investing in isn't a medical safety net, it's an intentionally designed community. So why is that intentional community so incredibly important right now? Well, the reality of aging today might just stop you in your tracks. Back in 2023, the US Surgeon General officially declared loneliness a public health epidemic. I mean, that is a heavy statement. The research heavily links isolation in seniors to significantly higher rates of depression, heart disease, cognitive decline, and yes, even mortality. When we talk about finding a new place to live as we get older, we really aren't just talking about square footage or nice countertops anymore. We're talking about protecting our fundamental physical and mental health.
So how exactly does co-housing fight back against this epidemic? The research on this is honestly pretty striking. In standard living situations, the risk of social isolation for seniors is hovering right around 25%. But in a co-housing community, that risk plummets to less than 10%. Scoping reviews note that this model actively decreases isolation, improves overall quality of life, and seriously boosts both physical and mental health. And it does this structurally. You're not relying on some random sign-up sheet on a dusty bulletin board to make a friend. The community itself naturally brings people together. All right, let's talk numbers because we absolutely have to look at the financials. What does this actually cost? Well, to buy into market rate co-housing, the home prices are typically pretty comparable to condos or townhomes in that specific local market. But pay attention to the ongoing monthly costs. The shared fees for common spaces and utilities generally run between $200 and $500 a month. That's very similar to a standard HOA fee. Now compare that to assisted living, which commonly runs a staggering $4,500 to $5,000 a month. So financially, on a month-to-month basis, it is incredibly manageable compared to traditional senior care facilities.
But here is the catch. The heaviest cost of co-housing often isn't the money, it's time. If you're looking to build a brand new co-housing community from scratch, it typically takes 3 to 7 years to develop, from the initial concept all the way to move-in day. Why does it take so long? Well, because the future residents themselves are the ones shaping the planning and design process from the very beginning. You are basically designing your dream neighborhood by committee, and that highly democratic, resident-led process simply takes a lot of time to get exactly right.
And hey, we need to be totally transparent here. Co-housing is absolutely not the right fit for everyone. There are very real trade-offs you have to know about. First is the governance. Most communities use consensus-based decision-making instead of a simple majority vote. Getting literally everyone to agree can seriously slow down even the smallest decisions. Second, privacy can feel a bit limited when your front porch faces a shared courtyard. Third, there is definitely built-in social pressure. The whole model only works because people actively show up for shared meals and responsibilities. An intensely private person might find that pretty exhausting. Finally, just like an HOA, you've got to carefully budget for those ongoing shared maintenance fees alongside all your other retirement expenses.
To help you really decide if those trade-offs are worth it, let's just walk through what a typical day actually looks like. Imagine waking up. Step 1, you have your morning coffee in total privacy in your own kitchen, exactly as you do right now. But later in the day, step 2, you walk out to get the mail and effortlessly end up having a great chat with a neighbor who's tending the shared garden. Step 3, you check the community board and see there's an optional potluck dinner in the common house that evening. None of it is mandatory, but simply passing that common house every day creates this unplanned, effortless contact. For someone who usually has to drive miles just to see a single friend, a shift like this is absolutely life-changing. Now, if that day-to-day lifestyle sounds absolutely incredible to you, but the thought of a 3 to 7 year building timeline sounds just awful, there is a shortcut. Explore existing communities. The Co-housing Association of the United States actually maintains a fantastic directory of established communities all across the country. Established communities already have their governance structures totally figured out, their common house is already built, and their culture is perfectly in place. The absolute best thing you can do is find one nearby, reach out, and go visit them for a shared meal. Honestly, it's the fastest way to know in your gut if the fit feels right for you. I know navigating all of these different options can still feel pretty overwhelming, and that is exactly why professionals with an SRES designation exist. SRES stands for Seniors Real Estate Specialist. These are experts who are specifically trained to help homeowners over 50 weigh these unique housing models, like co-housing, against your traditional real estate options. They don't just look at the square footage and the price tag, they help you factor in your ideal timeline, your long-term budget, and what your actual day-to-day life would feel like in these different environments. Having an objective professional in your corner just makes this complex decision so much clearer. At the end of the day, co-housing isn't going to fit everyone's plans. And you know what? That is perfectly okay. If you value complete, uninterrupted privacy above all else, a standard 55-plus community might actually be your perfect match. But if connection matters deeply to you, co-housing is an incredibly powerful, real option that is absolutely worth putting on the table. It's about discovering community without giving up your independence. I highly recommend checking out the free resource library available to you for more guides on aging in place and senior living options. And I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder today. As you plan for this next chapter, are you willing to keep leaving your community and your daily connections to chance? Or are you finally ready to start living by intentional design?